Ease the torque from the tie rods by loosening the bolts in a figure-8 pattern. Hydraulic cylinder and seal surface and plunger replacement are always done using the assembly fixture. It is more than a convenience in these service procedures. During reassembly, the fixture guarantees that the end bells are aligned square with each other. If the machine is assembled out of alignment, the manifold may develop leaks and part breakage can occur. Tap the end bell free of the cylinder. Remove the cylinder from the remaining end bell. Remove the snap ring, spacer, and seal, being careful with the parts. Clean both disassembled end bells and the parts and inspect them. Look for damaged threads, a damaged actuating pinhole, damage to sealing surfaces, and grooves. Use hydraulic O-ring lube on all seals, O-rings, and backup rings in the low-pressure cylinder. Start by lubricating the new plunger seals. Install a seal in each end bell with the O-ring side visible. The seal spacer should be in true dimension and not nicked. Place the spacer on top of the seal and install the snap ring. The snap ring should have good tension and not be bent. Lubricate and install the backup ring. The flashing on the backup ring must face away from the O-ring. Place the new O-ring in the groove beside the backup ring. The O-ring must be installed to the outside of the backup ring. If the piston biscuit or high-pressure plungers have to be replaced, follow this procedure. Place the piston assembly in a soft jaw vise. Remove the snap ring and the retainer. If you have a 30,000 psi intensifier, remove the spiral lock ring and retainer. Work the plungers free from the piston biscuit. Use a non-metallic tool to remove the seals. Use a non-metallic tool or small needle nose pliers to remove the T-seal from both sides of the piston biscuit. If you have a 30,000 psi intensifier, use a non-metallic tool or needle nose pliers to remove the O-rings and backup rings from both sides of the piston biscuit. Clean and inspect the piston biscuit and plungers. Check the circumference of the piston biscuit for scratches caused by contact with the cylinder wall. The plunger surface must be free of pits or scratches. Apply hydraulic O-ring lube to the new T-seal and the two backup rings and install them. Position the three pieces of the T-seal as shown. The T-seal must be installed first. Then the split backup rings go into the grooves of the T-seal. The beveled split of the backup ring must mate. If you have a 30,000 psi intensifier, apply O-ring lube to the new O-ring and the two backup rings and install them with the O-ring between the two concave sides of the backup rings. Insert the head of the plunger into the piston biscuit. Follow the same procedure for installing the other plunger. Apply O-ring lube to one seal and install it onto the piston biscuit. The flared portion of the seal faces the outside of the piston biscuit. Inspect the inside diameter of the hydraulic cylinder for scratches or pits. Replace if necessary. Lubricate the cylinder wall with hydraulic fluid. Install the piston biscuit and plunger assembly into the cylinder with only one seal in place. Notice that the seal doesn't enter the cylinder against the flared end. Drive the piston biscuit through the cylinder until the empty seal groove appears. If the seal also happens to appear, don't force it back into the cylinder against the direction of the flare. The second seal is installed with the flare of the O-ring facing the outside of the piston biscuit. Slide the piston biscuit and plunger back in the cylinder. Use cap screws to mount one end bell to the assembly fixture. The screws should be finger tight. Apply hydraulic oil to both plungers. Slip the remaining end bell onto the cylinder and fasten it to the assembly fixture with finger-tightened cap screws. These screws must hold the end bells tightly against the fixture. This prevents misalignment, but they must not interfere with the end bells being drawn together as the tie rods are tightened. Install the tie rods. Lubricate the threads with any thread lubricant before tightening. And then thread the elastic stop nuts. Tighten the tie rod nuts evenly in a figure-8 pattern to draw the cylinder onto the end bells. When the mating parts come together, torque each nut to 40 foot-pounds. Again, using a figure-8 pattern, tighten all the nuts to 60 foot-pounds. Then tighten them to 80 foot-pounds. Check for problems if seal or backup ring debris appears where the end bell and cylinder meet.